What's up, BookTube family? Sandy back here with another video. And in this video, I'm going to be going over the books that I am looking to read in the month of May 2021. Now, as many of you know, I a lot of times have a pretty ambitious TBR, and then I just throw it out the window and just go in a completely different direction. Now, that's probably gonna happen again, but I want to give you an idea at least of some books that I'm looking at reading, including books that I'm already reading right now. So that's coming up next. Okay, so I've got a few books that I'm looking at reading right now. I'm gonna start with the book that I am currently reading, and that is The Son of Mr. Suleiman by the late Eric Jerome Dickey, who passed away earlier in 2021. This is a book that takes place on a university campus. It has to do with issues of microaggression. It has to deal with issues of racism, allegations, false allegations, blackmail, a whole lot going on in this beast of a book. 530 plus pages. Normally I see 530 pages and I'm already tapping out because I'm like, that's not gonna work. But this is one that I've jumped in, and I'm about 62 pages into it, and I'm really liking it. One thing that helps for me, I should say, with longer books is shorter chapters, and so far short chapters helps me keep up the pace, gives me a sense of accomplishment finishing a chapter. It gives me a natural stopping point, so I don't feel like I have to stop in the middle of a chapter, which I really do not like doing. I've told some people that I read a book by a famous author, probably the middle of last year, 2020, and it was basically one long chapter. It wasn't the longest book ever, but it was basically one chapter, and I hated it. It drove me absolutely nuts. Even though I was actually excited about the particular book, I just hated that it was so long. But this one at 530 plus pages, it's off to a fantastic start, and I'm really excited about this. I've read one other Eric Jerome Dickey book in the past. He's a very, very good writer. I have another couple books of his on I think maybe past TBRs or near misses on past TBRs that I'm looking at reading. But The Son of Mr. Suleiman, off to it. Next up, I'm looking at finishing the Truly Devious series, or I should say part 3 in the original Truly Devious trilogy, and that is The Hand on the Wall, again by Maureen Johnson. I have really enjoyed so far the Truly Devious series. It truly took me a long time to get into it, but once I got into it, I really couldn't stop. Like, Truly Devious was really good. I got into it and I was feeling it, and I was just all over that book and just could not stop reading it. I kind of hybrid read it, part audiobook and then part physical copy of the book. And then I did the same thing with The Vanishing Stair, part 2 in the Truly Devious series. And I really enjoyed that one, about as good a sequel as I've read probably ever. So I'm really excited about that. And that has me more excited to read The Hand on the Wall. So definitely looking at finishing this one. Next up is a book I'm looking at potentially buddy reading with my good buddy Margaret Pernard, and that is The Half-God of Rainfall. And this is a very short book, just a little over 80 pages. And I found the story to be very interesting when Margaret brought it up to me. So shout out to Margaret for throwing this one at me on Twitter. So as she mentioned, it kind of falls maybe a little bit between what she reads a little bit more so and what I read. So it was very interesting. So let me read the inside cover a little bit, because this is going to get a little bit deep potentially. So just listen along as I try to describe this a little bit based on the inside cover. There is something about Demi. When this boy is angry, rain clouds gather. When he cries, rivers burst. Their banks, and the first time he takes a shot on a basketball court, the deities of the land take note. His mother, Modupe, looks on with a mixture of pride and worry. From close encounters, she knows gods often act like men. The same fragile egos, the same unpredictable fury, and the same sense of entitlement to the bodies of mortals. She will sacrifice everything to protect her son, but she knows the gods will one day tire of sports fans, their fickle allegiances and misdirected prayers. When that moment comes, it won't matter how special he is. Only the women in Demi's life, the mothers, daughters, and goddesses, will stand between him and a lightning bolt. So it's again a little bit different than what I typically read. It does have the sports element, which is sometimes very intriguing to me. So it'll be interesting to see how I feel about this one. There were some aspects of it that really intrigued me, and there's some aspects of it that, you know, I'm looking to explore to see if what I'm thinking right now is how I'm gonna feel when I'm done with this particular book. But I'm looking forward to checking it out. It should be a short, quick read. I'll probably be taking a lot of notes, as this is one, again, we're looking at buddy reading, so looking forward to seeing how this one turns out. Next up is a book that I've talked about more than a few times, and it is Goodnight Beautiful by Amy Malloy. And this book, it just starts out, you can look at some of my past videos and see where it is. A handsome psychotherapist, his lonely wife, and in his home office, a ceiling vent. You'd listen too, wouldn't you? Of course you would listen. Who are we kidding here? And that's where the mystery begins. Next up is a new release that I picked up, and that is Mirrorland by Carol Johnstone. And this sounded really interesting. Stephen King has a little quote on here: dark and devious, beautifully written and plotted with a watchmaker's precision. So a little bit from the inside cover, because you know I like to do that. With the startling twists of Gone Girl and the haunting emotional power of Room, a thrilling psychological suspense novel about twin sisters, the man they both love, and the dark childhood they can't leave behind. So a lot going on here that I really like. I like sibling stories, sibling mystery stories. You know that I've had a few of those on my TBR over the past year or so. If not longer. And then when you have a mystery going on there, and then the man they both love. So definitely gonna get interesting here. And then you have the childhood, the dark childhood that they are both struggling to escape. So a lot going on here, and this sounds like it's gonna be pretty interesting. So definitely glad I picked up Mirrorland. Also really, really good cover art right there for Mirrorland. Last up is a book that really intrigued me because it's got the FBI thing, and you know, many of you know that I'm a big Criminal Minds fan, the TV show Criminal Minds, and so it has a kind of an older timeline from the early 1980s, and it also had pretty attention-grabbing cover art, and that is None Shall Sleep by Ellie Marney. And this one just really kind of grabbed me, and I'll just read a little bit of the first paragraph, and it's a bulky paragraph of the inside cover. Okay. 1982, Quantico, Virginia. Two teenagers, serial killer survivor Emma Lewis and U.S. Marshal candidate Travis Bell, are recruited by the FBI to interview convicted juvenile killers and provide insight on cold cases. From the start, Emma and Travis develop a quick friendship, convincing juvenile murderers to talk about two teenagers, serial killer survivor Emma Lewis and U.S. Marshal candidate Travis Bell, are recruited by the FBI to interview convicted juvenile killers and provide insight on cold cases. From the start, Emma and Travis develop a quick friendship, convincing juvenile murderers to talk when even the FBI can't get them to crack. But when the team is called to give advice on an active case, a serial killer who exclusively hunts teenagers, everything begins to unravel. Working against the clock, they must turn to one of the country's most notorious incarcerated murderers for help, teenage sociopath Simon Gutmanson. So it sounds really interesting. And then a little bit of the back cover here. This might be a little bit interesting to you. C.S. Pacat, USA Today, best-selling author of Fence, A YA Silence of the Lambs that blew me away with its daring premise, gripped me with its twists and turns, and kept me up all night until its stunning conclusion. Marnie brings the serial killer thriller to YA with riveting suspense and sizzling style. Don't read this book in the dark. So I'm really excited about it. And again, terrific cover art. That's the front cover right there with the knife, the devious looking eyes, the blood right there, and then the blood, of course, streaking down the back side of the book. So None Shall Sleep by Ellie Marnie, definitely one that sounded really interesting to me, even if that might be a little bit creepy considering the subject matter. So there you have it. Those are the books that I'm looking at reading right now in terms of my TBR for the month of May 2021. As we all know, things happen and I'll probably blow it up and put some on the back burner and bring some onto the front burner. Who knows what's going to happen, but I'm looking forward to hopefully a great month of reading. I'll certainly explore some audiobook opportunities as well that I have not discussed today, but you know what? That's how it always goes with these TBRs. It's just fun to kind of think about what you might want to read, to make some plans for what you're going to read, then blow those plans up and go in a completely different direction. That's how it goes for me. That's pretty much how it goes for everybody else. So all we can do is stay along for the ride and hope we have great fun reading some terrific stories.